Hello and welcome to Sport on 7. I hope you've had a good week. We're back with half an hour of sport for you. We'll have everything from the best swimmers in the world to a tall Scotsman in need of a haircut. We'll have a look at what is happening at the Hamdan Sports Complex this week as the Junior Swimming Championships take place. We'll be talking to former Wallabies captain Geroge Gregan. Chris McCarty will also join me to talk a week of sport, and I'll be looking ahead to the FIFA Under-17 World Cup too. Welcome, I'm Tom Bushell. Plenty to get through this week, and let's start with the world's most capped rugby international, Geroge Gregan. The former Wallabies captain has been in the UAE covering OSN's coverage of the Rugby Championship and once again was enjoying his time in the country. Greegan made 139 caps for the Wallabies before retiring from international rugby in 2007. He continued to play in France and then Japan up until his full retirement from the game in 2011. Since then, Greegan has made plenty of visits to Dubai, with the likes of the Sevens being a favourite of his. I caught up with the great Australian to talk the opening weekend of the Rugby Championship, Aussie sport and life after playing.
It's good to be back in Dubai, nice and warm, but the first round of the Rugby Championship obviously didn't go to script for the Australian team under the new coach Ewan McKenzie, but the All Blacks just showed why they're world champions and a class team, very, very composed and very, very efficient. And I thought the Springboks played really, really well in that sort of celebration of football, celebrating Nelson Mandela's just being the figure that he is, and obviously he's going through a very difficult time, but they really sort of, every time that they play for Nelson Mandela, doesn't matter if it's a celebration, a birthday, they lift their game, and that was the case against Argentina. I thought Fourie Dupree, when he came on for the last 30 minutes, really took their game to another level, so they were outstanding, like 73 points to 13. Two impressive starts, and always when you go to the Rugby Championship, you've got to move on to next week, so a big round of matches this particular week.
And of course, in 2012 last year, New Zealand won the Rugby Championship, winning every single game. Are they in just as good form this time around?
Well, they really are. I think the New Zealand team, the thing about their team is the squad mentality. They had some injuries, like Liam Messam got injured just beforehand, and Stephen Tuilatu came in and just did his job really, really well. I think similar, Dan Carter got injured early in the week, and then obviously you got a guy who's become just a world-class fly half in Cruden, who played really, really well in that particular match, kicked all his goals. It was an outstanding performance, really well rounded. I believe he's injured this week. They'll just slip someone else in, so they've got a really good squad mentality. And a bloke called Richie McCaw hadn't played in about 6 or 7 months. It was just like riding a bike. He was in outstanding form. So they really have some world-class players, but when someone does get injured, someone slips straight in and does their job.
For the Aussies, of course, the Wallabies coming off the back of that series, a loss to the British and Irish Lions, but big changes there. New coach, as you mentioned, Ewan McKenzie, is into the job. How long will the transition take, and how long will it take for the Wallabies to get back up to the kind of form that they expect of themselves?
Yeah, well, there's always that transition, but under a new coach, there's a new regime, there should be a new energy, and obviously your first test match against a great team like the All Blacks is always going to be difficult at home, but I think Ewan McKenzie and the team would have wanted it any differently. So they've got to bounce back. 1 week, you've got to get yourselves ready, get on the plane, get over to New Zealand and look at the things you need to improve and improve them quickly. And I think with Ewan McKenzie's coaching team in this playing group, it's a real good opportunity for them to sort of develop some consistency in their play. That's probably what's been lacking with this Wallaby team, and there's no better place to do it in the Rugby Championship. And then obviously, not getting too far ahead, there's an end-of-season tour. So hitting their straps, I hope they're hitting their consistency straps probably by the end of this Rugby Championship, where they're getting back-to-back solid performances.
Absolutely. 3 big words out of the Rugby Championship so far. Crouch, bind and set, of course. The new scrum rules come into play for the first time in that first test between New Zealand and Australia. How do you think that new scrum rule is working?
I liked it, particularly how it was interpreted in that first game. I thought Craig Joubert did a very good job. Obviously, the scrum feed becomes a big one with the scrum halves, making sure that the ball goes in straight. So he's pretty consistent in terms of getting that done nicely by Aaron Smith and obviously Will Guinea. And there weren't as many resets, and the ball was in play more. I don't think it takes away from the contest of scrummaging, but what it does, it keeps the ball in play and stops the amount of, resets because the scrum collapses, and that's a positive thing for the game of rugby.
Absolutely, of course. So looking at the rankings as well, the Wallabies have dropped down to fourth now. England move above them to number 3 in the world. I mean, for Aussie sport at the moment, how do you see it as a whole? You know, Aussie sport. Obviously, the Lions was a great tour for the British and Irish Lions. Cricket as well. The Ashes has gone England's way. How do you sum up Aussie sport at the moment?
It's disappointing. We're depressed, aren't we? It's a blue scenario. The blue seas of I guess the Pacific Ocean reflect very, very much on the Australian mood in sport. I think, you know, it happens in cycles, and it's something that Australian teams and the sporting nations are not used to, being down for too long. Obviously, Olympics as well. You could have thrown that in as well. You know,
on the whole list.
Mo Farah, he was outstanding, wasn't he, in the World Championships just there in Russia, doing the double again. So they're just going through a really good phase, and it's great. I think it's inspiring for the people in UK and obviously in Britain, seeing sporting people, sporting teams performing on the world stage and being very, very successful. It's really inspiring for the next generation. And, you know, I think growing up in Australia, you're used to teams succeeding on the world stage. And, you know, the players who are in that position at the moment, individually and collectively, they'll want to get back into their winning ways. But it just goes to show you can't take it for granted. Like, when you're on top, if you just think it's going to keep rolling around, you can be in for a really quick sort of recalibration, which Australian sport's going through at the moment. But no, they'll identify it, and it's just the Australian way. You like winning, you expect to compete, you expect to do well, and you don't like losing consistently. So I think that's going to turn around. It has to turn around. We will make it turn around.
Great to speak to George, as always. Now, staying with ball sports, but this time on sand. Not beach volleyball, but beach soccer. September sees the 2013 Tahiti Beach Soccer World Cup take place, and the UAE have qualified and at the moment are going through their training campaign ahead of the big kickoff. UAE head coach Marcelo Mendes has been talking to us on the phone from Spain, where he has been keeping an eye on World Cup opponents. Spain.
No, I came to observe the tournament, to watch Spain specifically, because they are in our group, and it's very important for me to see how they perform in this tournament.
Why was it so important for you to come and watch them in the flesh as opposed to sitting at home in Dubai and watching the television coverage?
Well, when you watch the match live here in the stadium, you can observe different movements, and you can be focused in the corners and like the set pieces in the game. So on the TV you can watch the game, but not exactly, you know, some specific points that you have to feel better. So here it was very important for me to observe the Spanish team, to take note about some key points, and inshallah we will play a good game with them in Tahiti.
Marcelo there in confident mood. He was talking to Brian Murgatroyd. Best of luck to the UAE side in September. You'll also be able to watch the UAE side in person in November as the Samsung Beach Soccer Intercontinental Cup once again is held at Festival City in Dubai. That's it for part 1 of Sport on 7. Next, though, we'll take a look at swimming, football, and Chris McCarty is still to come to chat sports over the last 7 days.